everyone, it's been a while. I'm still working on my Taiwan vlogs, so I'm sorry that it's kind of jumbled and I'm doing like more current things plus Taiwan still, but in any case, my Taiwan vlogs will be coming out very soon. I hope to have them all out in the next few weeks. So I've been editing. Don't worry, I didn't forget about YouTube, sorry. I've just been traveling a lot this summer. I flew back to my hometown twice this summer. It's been crazy. Yeah, but today I wanted to make a video about the dangers of hiking in Japan, but basically anywhere. If you don't know, I love hiking. I have some videos on my channel of me hiking, and I've hiked quite a few mountains here. I've climbed Mount Fuji twice, but that isn't even the most difficult mountain I've climbed, so I'm well aware of the dangers, and I've made mistakes when I've gone hiking in the past. So I just want everyone who comes to Japan and wants to go hiking to be very careful and just be prepared. Unfortunately, I got the idea to make this video because a young Russian girl in her 20s, yesterday from filming this video, she passed away on Mount Fuji. She was hiking with her Japanese husband, and a rock fell and I think it hit her in the chest, and unfortunately she passed away. And that can happen anytime, anywhere to anyone who's hiking. So, and it's something that a lot of tourists don't think about. Mount Fuji is the biggest mountain in Japan, and a lot of tourists come and they want to climb it. So I think like in a year between 300 to 400,000 people climb it, and you can only climb during the summer. So in like around 2 months there's that many people climbing, and it's kind of congested, and deaths do happen on Mount Fuji. I know it's kind of marketed towards anyone can climb it, anyone can make the hike. I've seen really elderly people climbing better than me, and I've seen young kids hiking up Mount Fuji. So anyone can climb it, but you just have to be aware that there are dangers. It is a mountain, it is nature. There are animals, there are falling rocks, and especially on Mount Fuji, there are a lot of people climbing, so a lot of things can factor into your hike. It gets very crowded towards the top. Sometimes you're like kind of waiting in a line to get to the top. It's pretty crazy. You wouldn't think you're out in the middle of nature because there's so many people there. Any hiking you do can be dangerous. So whenever my friends from the US come to Japan, lots of people want to hike Mount Fuji, but I have to tell them, please remember that it is a mountain. It is not like it is kind of a tourist attraction now, but you know, it's not like Disneyland. There's nobody there to really help you if you're in trouble. I know a lot of people plan their trip around the season to hike Mount Fuji, but one thing you have to be careful of is the weather. So if you see on the weather report that it will be raining or storming, do not make that hike. It will be very dangerous, very slippery, very muddy, and it's not like just a walking path. Like, you do have to climb over rocks, and it is a volcano, so there are a lot of rocks on the mountain. So I would avoid any bad weather, and weather can change in an instant on a mountain. I have been on hikes where the weather said it would be sunny, it was beautiful, and all of a sudden fog came rolling in, it started raining, it got dark, and I was on the mountain and I couldn't get down. So you really have to be careful, and you have to know your limit and when to quit. Especially on Mount Fuji, you have the possibility to get altitude sickness, and if you're feeling sick, If you feel dizzy, stop hiking. And some people have to go back down because they're just not feeling good. I wouldn't recommend to push yourself. I know that you've gotten so far and you've planned your trip around climbing Mount Fuji, but in all honesty, it is so much better to go back down the mountain and maybe try again a different day. So I just want to tell you guys some things that you will need if you go hiking. And this is either Mount Fuji or Takao-san or anywhere, like from easy to difficult, any mountain you want to climb, this is what you're gonna need. Wear the proper shoes. Get hiking boots. The first time I ever went hiking, I was quite young. This is probably like more than 10 years ago. The first mountain I ever hiked was Mount Fuji, which was kind of stupid. And I didn't realize what I was getting myself into. I did not have the proper shoes. I wore tennis shoes. And by the time I got home, they were destroyed. They had holes in them. They were beat up. There was sand in my shoes. It was not a good time. My feet really hurt. Do not recommend. And I've gone hiking and seen like, you know, couples hiking as like a date, and the girls will be wearing high heels going up the mountain, and that's just crazy to me. I don't know why you would do that, but I wore tennis shoes, so I don't know. I would recommend getting the proper hiking boots. Those will save your feet and you'll just have a better time going up and down. If you can imagine, you're going up the mountain and then you have to come down again. You're constantly in a downward slope. If your toes are hitting the front of your shoes, it's gonna be really painful after a while. So you wanna get shoes that if you're walking down a hill, your toes don't hit your shoes in the front. So there should be like a small gap. I don't know about in other places, but I know here if you go and buy hiking boots, they do have like a little mock mountain, like a little hill, and you can practice walking up with your shoes and down and see which shoes best suit you. So proper hiking boots is a must. On the topic of shoes, I would suggest dress for the weather. You need proper clothes. For example, if you're climbing Mount Fuji, the base is going to be very hot because it's summer, it's very humid, but the higher up you go, the colder it's gonna get, and by the time you reach the top, it is gonna be very cold. You do need to understand the weather and what it's gonna be like as you go up the mountain. For lower mountains, it doesn't really change a whole lot, but for the higher mountains, it does change a lot. I would also always make sure you have rain gear with you just in case, because on the mountains the weather can change like that and it'll just start raining or it'll get really misty. So you want to make sure you can protect your backpack, you have a rain jacket, and to just make sure you protect yourself and your belongings from getting drenched. Of course, you need a hiking backpack. You should bring enough water, enough food. It's better to be over prepared and just make sure you have that stuff just in case you don't get down in the expected amount of time, or if there's some problem and you're stuck up there, you want to make sure you have enough food and water to last you for a while. Another thing you really need is a first aid kit. Luckily, I've never been injured on a hike, but I was on a hike one time with my friends. An older man was on top of kind of a boulder and he fell and he hurt himself. We helped him up and he was bleeding. He was okay, but just in case, we had a first aid kit, but he also had one. So that was the only time where I thought, yeah, I'm lucky I have a first aid kit with me. Another thing that I would recommend that is not necessary are trekking poles. So those poles are really helpful if you need a little bit more support. They really help with stability, and since you're hiking, it's gonna be different kinds of terrain and you might need that stability. I know it really helps when I have like a really steep step to hike up, So I might be down here and I might have to get over a huge rock. So if I put my poles up, I can kind of hoist myself up. It's really helpful, and I think it makes your legs a little bit less tired. It does kind of hurt your arm muscles though, but good exercise. Something else that I really recommend is having a headlamp. So when you're climbing Mount Fuji, a lot of people want to reach the top for sunrise. So that means you're hiking at night. You have to hike in the dark. With a headlamp, you're able to see somewhat, but you have to still remember it is quite dangerous. Even if you are not planning to hike in the dark, I would recommend packing a headlamp just in case, because you never know. There's been a time where I wasn't planning to hike at night, but the route that I took actually took a lot longer than we expected because of changes in the weather. And I was hiking down off a mountain in pitch blackness, and I had forgotten my headlight, and luckily my boyfriend had his, and we kind of just worked together to get off the mountain, and that was my mistake. I should have brought my own headlamp. I should have been more prepared for the weather. Yeah. If it's getting dark and you're not sure if you can make it off a mountain in time, check and see if they have lodges that you can stay at or camp out. Even though it's not in your plan to stay there, it is a lot safer than going down in the middle of the night in pitch blackness. Some of the hiking trails I've been on are quite narrow and there is a steep drop. So if you're hiking in the dark, you might not see that there's a drop, and that could be really dangerous. I just want to reiterate that anytime you go hiking, it is risky. It is nature. It might seem like a very touristy thing to do, but even the professionals have accidents. An acquaintance of mine, he's a trail runner, an extreme trail runner. He goes and practices on Mount Fuji. He competes in races on mountains. I've seen them practicing myself when I've been hiking. They're very crazy. They will run the trails, and if you can imagine how people are hiking up Mount Fuji with like a backpack and taking their time, but these guys, they'll just run up and down, and they're professionals and they compete professionally. But during one of his races that he had been preparing for, one of the other competitors slipped and fell off of those narrow trails, and he passed away. And it can happen to anyone. If you make the wrong move, take the wrong step, anything can happen. It is a mountain. There is no elevator or escalator off. You have to climb up yourself and climb down yourself, and that's the only way to get on and off the mountain. So just remember that, and I hope all of you guys who go hiking are safe. Please stay safe, be prepared, but enjoy. Japan has so many mountains. There is more mountainous areas than like livable areas. Japan is such a beautiful, beautiful country to go hiking in. So I recommend that you do try it. Just be prepared, be safe, but have fun at the same time. If you guys want to see pictures of my life in Japan, head over to my Instagram. It's TokyoBriBri, and I will link a playlist to my hiking videos somewhere, so check those out. Thank you guys for watching this video. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in my next video. All right, bye.